Welcome to Revenge Recall. I was sitting at the dinner table when a police officer knocked on my door. Ma'am, your husband was in a fatal car accident an hour ago. My fork slipped from my hand and clattered against the plate. No, he's upstairs sleeping, I whispered. The officer's face drained of color. My name is Mei Lin Hana. I'm 33. And if you think you've heard this story before, you haven't. I stood, the world narrowing to a tunnel as I led the officer up the stairs. Every step creaked beneath our feet, the sound sharp against the thick silence. Halfway up, he froze, his hand hovering near his gun. Ma'am, he said quietly, his tone shifting. Step away from him. I turned my head slowly. My husband David was sitting upright on the bed, perfectly still, eyes wide open, but his skin was pale, too pale, the color of candle wax. I reached out instinctively, but the officer grabbed my wrist. Don't touch him. What are you talking about? I whispered. He's right there. The officer moved closer, shining his flashlight across David's face. The beam hit his eyes, and they didn't blink. A chill crawled down my spine. He spoke into his radio, his voice tight. Dispatch, I need a forensic unit at 1445 Willow Avenue. Possible identity anomaly. I stared at him. Identity anomaly? He didn't answer. Instead, he crouched beside David, pulling a small envelope from the nightstand. On it, my name was written in my husband's handwriting. The officer looked up at me. Did you know about this? My throat closed. About what? He opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph, a blurry image of David standing beside a car engulfed in flames. The timestamp read 1 hour ago, and beneath it, in his handwriting, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home. My knees buckled and the room tilted as if gravity had forgotten how to hold me. The officer studied me, his voice low and cautious. Ma'am, I need you to step back, please. My eyes locked on the photograph, the scorched car, the dark outline of David standing in front of it. The timestamp blinked like a cruel countdown. This doesn't make sense, I whispered. If he died, who's lying in that bed? The officer didn't answer right away. He crouched again, touching David's wrist, searching for a pulse. Then he frowned. Cold. But there's no lividity. This body hasn't been dead an hour, more like days. I shook my head. No, he was at dinner with me last night. We talked this morning. He kissed me before his meeting. He turned his flashlight on the floor. Faint scuff marks trailed from the window to the bed as if something had been dragged. You said he kissed you this morning. Are you sure it was him? The question made me step back instinctively. Of course it was him. But my voice betrayed the smallest tremor of doubt. The officer opened his radio again, requesting backup and a coroner. We have a body with inconsistent timeline, potential impersonation case. I wanted to scream that he was wrong, that David was right there, that he texted me hours ago, running late. Don't wait up. I pulled out my phone. The message was still there. But as I stared at it, my stomach dropped. The timestamp didn't say 7:45 p.m. It said 7:45 a.m. And the sender's number, the one I'd saved as David's, had no contact name now. Just digits. The officer's radio crackled. Car fire confirmed. ID retrieved. Male, mid-30s. Name, David Hana. The world went silent around me. So who or what was lying upstairs in my bed? The coroner's van pulled up 20 minutes later, its red lights flickering through the rain-streaked window. 2 officers entered quietly, their faces tight with the practiced calm of people who'd seen too much. I sat at the edge of the sofa, clutching my daughter's baby blanket, the one David had insisted we buy even before we were expecting. It still smelled faintly of lavender detergent, and him. Officer Rahman, the first responder, paced near the fireplace, notebook in hand. Mrs. Hana, he said carefully. We'll need a recent photo of your husband. I pointed to the wedding portrait above the mantel. He nodded, eyes flicking between the picture and the body bag being zipped upstairs. Same face, he murmured, but not the same person. What does that even mean? I asked, my voice brittle. Ma'am, he said, sitting across from me. Did your husband have a twin? Any relatives who looked similar? I shook my head. He was an only child. I met his parents. They died years ago. There's no one. Rahman sighed. Then something's off. The man we found upstairs has David Hana's fingerprints, but the time of death estimate puts it at least 3 days ago. And yet you've been speaking to someone using his phone during that time. My skin prickled. Are you saying someone else texted me pretending to be my husband? He leaned forward. I'm saying someone wanted you to believe he was still alive. I stared at the flickering candle on the coffee table, its flame shivering like my pulse. But why? Before he could answer, his radio crackled again. Rahman, we found something in the burned car. Passenger seat, sealed envelope addressed to ML, postmarked 2 days before the accident. He met my gaze. ML, that's you, isn't it? I nodded slowly. Rahman exhaled. Then I think your husband was trying to tell you something before he died. The next afternoon, I was summoned to the precinct. The envelope from the burned car lay sealed inside a plastic evidence bag. Rahman handed it to me carefully. You should see this before we log it in officially. My fingers trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a folded letter, handwritten, smudged from smoke and rain. The first line made my blood run cold. If you're reading this, it means I failed. It was unmistakably David's handwriting. Precise, controlled, the kind of penmanship that used to fill grocery lists and anniversary notes. Mei Lin, I didn't die in an accident. I was being followed. Someone knew about the money I found. Something big enough to kill for. If I don't make it home, don't trust anyone, not even my family. My hands shook. Money? What money? I whispered. Rahman scanned the letter beside me. Keep going. It's hidden in a place you'd never look. The thing we always argued about. If someone comes pretending to be me, don't believe them. There's something you need to see before you decide what to do. The last line was smeared, the ink dissolved from heat and water. Check the mirror. Then it stopped. Rahman frowned. Check the mirror? My mind snapped back to our house. The tall antique mirror in the upstairs hallway. The one David insisted we keep even when I wanted to sell it. The one he'd moved the week before the accident. I know where it is, I said, standing abruptly. Mrs. Hana, wait. But I was already halfway out the door. An hour later, I was in my hallway staring at my reflection in the mirror. My pulse thundered. I touched the frame, searching for seams. My fingers brushed something rough beneath the carved wood edge. A hidden latch clicked. Behind the mirror, an envelope taped to the wall, sealed with black wax and written across the front in bold capital letters, "Do not trust the police." My breath hitched. For a moment, all I could hear was the hum of the house, the refrigerator cycling, the faint tick of the hallway clock. Then the weight of those words sank in. Do not trust the police. I hesitated, staring at the wax seal. The air around me felt charged, electric, as though someone else was standing just out of sight. I peeled the envelope open. Inside were 2 photographs and a flash drive. The first photo showed David sitting in a cafe across from Officer Rahman. My stomach twisted. The timestamp read 2 days before the accident. The second photo was worse. It showed David again, but this time he wasn't smiling. His hands were on the table, palms up, and there was a folded piece of paper in front of him with 3 letters scrolled across it, MLC, my initials. A sound escaped my throat, a small broken thing. I grabbed my laptop and plugged in the flash drive. One single video file blinked to life. The footage was shaky, handheld. David's voice came first, low and urgent. Mei Lin, if anyone from the precinct contacts you, don't believe them. They're part of something. Rahman isn't who he says he is. I found out where the money's coming from. They'll try to pin everything on me. A crash echoed in the background, followed by David's gasp. The video ended abruptly. I sat there frozen, the glow of the screen flickering against the mirror surface. Then 3 knocks at the door, firm, rhythmic. I jumped. Through the peephole, I saw Rahman standing outside, hat in hand. His cruiser idled at the curb. Mrs. Hana, he called. We need to talk. My pulse thundered. I turned back to the mirror, my own reflection staring back, pale and wide-eyed. If the letter was true, opening that door might end me. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I stepped back from the door. Through the frosted glass, Rahman's silhouette shifted, one hand resting near his holster. Mrs. Hana, he called again, voice lower now. I just need a minute. We found something new about your husband. Something in his tone had changed. Too smooth, too rehearsed. I inched toward the kit Hana, phone trembling in my hand. I typed a single text to Priya, he's here. Don't trust him. Come quickly. Then I turned off every light except the one over the stairs. If he forced his way in, I wanted the shadows on my side. Ma'am. Another knock. Louder. You don't want to make this harder than it needs to be. Harder. The word sliced through me. From the mirror in the hall, my reflection stared back, pale, frantic, alive. Behind me, my daughter's soft cry drifted from her room upstairs. I'm not opening the door, I said loud enough for him to hear. A pause. Then his voice dropped to a whisper through the wood. You shouldn't have looked in the mirror. My stomach twisted. Tires screeched outside. The crunch of another car pulling up fast. A woman's voice cut through the night. Mei Lin, step away from the door. Priya burst into view, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. Ramon's hand froze mid-motion. His badge flashed under the porch light. Real, but not current. Within seconds, they had him restrained. His partner, an actual precinct sergeant, explained in clipped tones that Ramon had been under internal investigation for months. Extortion, money laundering, falsified cases. David's accident had been his way out of their scheme, and it cost him his life. As they led Ramon away, he looked back once, eyes cold. He shouldn't have told you. I shut the door quietly, locking it twice. Then I whispered to the silence. He had to. The next morning felt unreal, like the air itself was made of glass, thin and fragile. News spread quickly. Disgraced officer arrested in corruption scandal linked to fatal car fire. David's name was in the headlines again, but this time not as a victim, as the man who had exposed the rot beneath the badge. Priya sat at my Kit Hana table, her blazer draped over a chair, a file spread open between us. He kept every piece of evidence, she said quietly. Bank transfers, photos, even the account logs. Your husband knew what he was walking into. I stared down at the flash drive lying beside my coffee cup. He knew they'd come after him, I said. That's why he made sure I'd find the mirror. Priya nodded. He didn't die trying to protect the money. He died protecting you. The truth hit me harder than any grief. For days, I'd mourned the man I thought was a stranger. Now I realized he'd been fighting alone while pretending everything was fine. Dinners, text messages, jokes about the nursery wallpaper. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. My reflection looked different now, not terrified, but resolute. I reached behind the frame and pulled out the hidden compartment one last time. Beneath where the envelope had been, taped flat against the wall, was a folded piece of paper I hadn't seen before. It was a letter written in his handwriting. Mei Lin, I know you'll find this last. You were always the one who looked deeper. When the fear fades, promise me one thing. Live loudly. Don't let my silence define you. Tears blurred the ink as I whispered. I promise. Behind me, my daughter stirred, her first small cry breaking the quiet. Life still moving forward. A year later, the city no longer felt haunted. The mirror still hung in the hallway, but now it reflected light instead of ghosts. I'd kept it not as a reminder of fear but of clarity. The state recognized David posthumously for exposing corruption. His name cleared, his story told. Priya and I founded the Hana Integrity Project, a non-profit that trained journalists and whistleblowers to protect evidence safely. Every story we saved felt like keeping David's voice alive. The media called me the woman who turned her husband's murder into a movement. I didn't like the title, but I understood it. Sometimes the only way to survive is to make purpose out of the wreckage. Tonight, I sat by the same dinner table where everything began. My daughter, now walking, toddled around the room, laughing at her own reflection in the mirror. The sound made the walls feel warm again. On the table sat a letter from the NYPD, offering to return David's recovered belongings. Among them was his wedding ring, cleaned of soot. I slipped it on a chain around my neck. We did it, I whispered. You were right to trust me. Through the window, Manhattan's skyline shimmered under a velvet sky. I'd rebuilt my life piece by piece. Not by forgetting, but by understanding. The mirror caught my reflection again, this time strong, composed, alive. Then, as I turned away, I froze. In the faint corner of the glass, a light flickered just once, like a camera flash. My breath caught, but when I looked back, it was gone. Just me, my daughter, and the soft hum of the city. Still, I smiled. If that was you, David, I said softly. You can rest now. We're safe. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance. Fading, not chasing.